What's up, party people? It's KeysDAN with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What Studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quotes. And maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people. Need you be entertained? Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Oh, today on the program, I have Michelle Aspen. Oh, you've heard a little bit about Michelle Aspen. Well, she's a singer, songwriter, composer, producer. She's from Georgia. Now she's in Nashville making that good music. Started writing songs at a real young age, and you're going to get to know a little bit more about her in the next few minutes. So stick around. This week's shows, I have my one public show, my usual Friday night gig. I'm back at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. They got a full bar. The kitchen's open, pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, I encourage you to come out to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the video dance party karaoke jam. Yeah, that starts at 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM in Conway, Arkansas. Be there. And then on Saturday, I got a private party, but I want to tell you a little bit. It's a 40th birthday party. It's a surprise party. So if you know this person, don't tell them. It's a surprise. Man, I love it. I've had weddings, Fridays, Saturdays. I've had Thursday weddings, Sunday weddings. I know it's wedding season, but it's nice to, even though I love doing weddings, it's nice to break that up with a birthday party, a nice 40th birthday party. I'm going to tell you how the sausage is made a little bit. When I'm starting to play the music and they don't give me a music list, I start playing the music that they like that came out about the time that they graduated high school. So if they're 40 years old, about 22 years ago, around the year 2000, they graduated high school, and that's the music that I'll start with. Of course, I'll play whatever they want, and I have the video screens up there. If they want to do some karaoke and sing, they can do that as well. I love it. But unless you're invited to that party, you cannot come. So there, come to my public show on Friday night at the Rab, Conway, Arkansas, 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. All right, that's it for that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Michelle Aspen. I got her on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version, check out the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDAN. Skyping Michelle Aspen now.
Okay, I think it's loading. Yeah, hey.
There she is. It's Michelle Aspen. My goodness. This is the first time that we're chit-chatting, the first time that we're talking. Hi, KeysDAN. Yeah. Welcome to the What Makes You Famous podcast. Going on. But I've been following you or stalking you, so to speak, on all your social medias. I know I've been talking to all your friends. I feel like what is that? Like a lovesick man trying to get to you, but not really going directly to you. I just talk to the people around you and find out things about you. And now I'm getting to talk to Michelle Aspen as I live and breathe. You're right there in front of me. For the people that are listening to the audio version, please, by all means, check out the video version so you can see Michelle Aspen right there next to me, right there. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Welcome. Hey, for the people that don't know you, and if they don't know you, they need to get to know you. Michelle Aspen, if you were writing your own Wikipedia page, like the top 2 paragraphs, what would Michelle Aspen, what is a Michelle Aspen?
So Michelle Aspen was adopted at 3 days old in Savannah, Georgia, by some amazing parents that have supported her whole life. Began reading at 3 and songwriting at 4. about a fat lady in a fountain with butterflies. That was my first tune. It was pretty great.
I believe that to be true. Okay, I love the adoption part. You were chosen. I have a sister that's 23 years younger than me named Heather, and she was adopted. My mother got married for the 4th time, and they couldn't. They tried to have children. Nobody likes to think about their parents having sex, but hey, they tried to have children, but it didn't work out. They found a little girl to adopt, and I have a little baby sister who's now in her 20s named Heather. And that's fantastic. Being adopted. Now, she did go back to find her family, her biological family. And it turns out she has brothers and sisters, mostly a sister that looks exactly like her. Have you ever tried to go back to finding your biological family, or is that an interest for you?
My birth mother found me when I was 12. She was having some health complications, and we had an open adoption arranged. So I got to meet my brother and my sister when I was 12, and I was in love with them from the minute I ever saw them. I just knew they were mine, and I ended up taking custody of my brother. As a matter of fact, my birth mom wasn't able to care for them either, and so later on down the line, I ended up trying to pay it back and taking care of him as well.
Okay, well, your adopted parents, who have been your actual mom and dad, they've been your rock. They've been behind you. You already said that they've been, supporting you throughout your life. That's a wonderful thing. Now you have this extended family. It's like bonus kids, bonus family, bonus blood, bonus, people that you can count on. I mean, I'm sorry that your biological mom is having, health issues. That's a troublesome thing to go through in itself. But was there a reason giving? I know I might be a little forward.
Fine. Addiction is actually a big part of my story, Dan. She struggles with addiction. I later struggled with alcoholism. It's not the prettiest part of my story or my journey, but it definitely is relevant.
Well, okay, it's a landmark. It's a tent pole of what makes you who you are today. I'm sure the addiction didn't start at 3 and 4 years old when you started writing music.
Continuing. That was a long time coming. So my mom, I remember I was trying to sing Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" in the backseat of her Taurus. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, if I don't get this child voice lessons, she's going to blow her vocal cords." So there I started at a little town in Pembroke, Georgia. I began vocal lessons. I believe I was 7. And mind you, I've always been on a stage. So I'm dancing, doing baton and all this in my free time that I barely had any of. And so it just sort of fit right on in the mix. I just sang the recitals along with dance and twirled. And if I was on a stage, I was doing something. I was making it happen.
Oh, my goodness. Look, I know. Okay, anybody that looks you up on the internet can find out certain things. You were born in '87, so I'm guessing by '90 you're starting to sing. And Whitney Houston, a very lofty goal at 3 and 4 years old, and even beyond that. If you're going to emulate anyone, you start big. Why don't you? And your mom had the wherewithal to give you voice lessons. Do you remember your voice teacher? Do you remember any of those lessons that she gave you? What were the first vocal? I've never had a voice lesson. I do karaoke on the weekends, and I attempt some '80s classic songs that stick in my head. But, you were born the year after I graduated high school. Do I feel old? Not really. Nah, still kicking, still doing it. But, do you remember the first lessons, what the exercises were? Can you give examples?
I remember I walked in, and her story is funnier than mine, but she says that I walked in and then I put my hand on my hip and I said, "I guess you're Miss Lori." And she said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "We're going to do some vocal lessons." And I said, "I don't need any lessons, but yes." And she was like, oh my God, I have a firecracker. She's like, what am I going to do with this child? And we just kind of went to the piano and we did a little la 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 la. And I'm like, I could do that, and it took a long time. Probably it felt like years for her, but eventually I was learning breathing techniques and all those little hidden things that you don't really realize goes into singing, but it too is a muscle. So.
Well, I mean, you're not just a firecracker. You're a Georgia firecracker. That's a thing, from what I understand. You said Pembroke, Georgia. I've never heard of Pembroke. Is that a teeny tiny town? Tell me about, little Miss. What's that?
We're all in the boondocks here. That's what we all say, the boondocks. I'm from a little town called Meldrum. My parents, they raised me in this perfect, it really was. It was picturesque. It was a yellow Victorian house with a wraparound porch. And I just remember telling my mom, I'd say, Mommy, where are we going to live next? And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, next, the next house. And my mom's like, Michelle, this is our house. This is where we live. And my mom says I always just had a different mind and just always kind of, I love to travel. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't know if that matters, but I definitely was always when I saw Tanya Tucker on stage when I was this is the 7, right? This is when I'm doing voice lessons at home. My parents took me up to Nashville to go to Opryland. That's when I knew. I saw Tanya Tucker on a stage in this black Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, looking outfit thing. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
I believe that to be true. That is a sight to behold in itself. Your parents, I'm guessing that they're music lovers as well. They took you all the way to Nashville. The first time I went to Graceland, it was a spiritual experience. I've never been to Nashville. I need to get to Nashville. In fact, my mom and dad, my mom and stepdad are building a house, a little cabin just south of Nashville. And so it's about 6 hours away from me. But I've gotten to Memphis. I've seen the magic and the music of that town. It's not quite Nashville, but it is Elvis country. There is Sun Records. Right. There is Stax Records. But the feeling, all right? And I know you're in Nashville now. That's a little foreshadow, a little, was it, oh my goodness, when they, a little spoiler for a little bit later in your story. But as you're growing up, your parents actually took you to Nashville. You went to the Grand Ole Opry. You saw Tanya Tucker, one of the greats in that slinky outfit, and you said, yes, I got to do that. So where did you go from here? Did you start playing an instrument, or is your voice the instrument that you play? Where did you go from there?
So my writing began kind of going a little more into melody. So I heard one of your former podcasts, you were going, I don't know the difference between poetry and when they turn into song lyrics. And my answer to that question was when you hear the melody. And that's how you know. If you hear it, if that poem jumps off the page at you and all of a sudden you hear something, it's a song. And so then you kind of redirect your lyrics to fit that melody, but it's all about that. And ironically, my mom said that was supposed to be my name, Melody. She was going to name me Melody Diane. And I'm like, maybe you should have stuck with Melody because it's pretty accurate. But absolutely. So I remember being in 5th grade and I wrote my first song with a melody. And my teachers were trying to teach me what plagiarism was. And they could not believe that I wrote it. And they were like, no, Michelle, you can't say that it's your song because you like it. I'm like, no, that's my song. And I still remember the song. I was hell bent. I wrote this. Yeah. And so eventually I think they figured it out, but I continued with the voice lessons and I started taking piano. And then I got in trouble because I was memorizing my piano pieces because I couldn't read the music as fast as my brain would go. So they took away the piano, which was, God, the worst mistake, I think, really. Looking back, that was probably a no-no because another spoiler alert, I fell madly in love with the piano later on down the line. But for a long time, there was no one here. There wasn't like a person that played guitar next door. Like, no one did music but me. And it was kind of a lonely feeling. I was interviewed on the radio in like 4th grade, and I sang in they put it all over the school on the intercom. And I just remember I got back to school and none of the kids would talk to me. Oh. Like, it was a weird thing. I was different because, I really had something, but that something was weird.
Oh, you definitely have something. If the voice that you have now, the voice that I've been listening to for the latter part of the day, the voice that you have now is any indication of the voice you had then. You had it. You had something. And I'm sure jealousy might have clicked in, but my goodness, the popular kid, you're on the radio. That could have gone either way. The flip of the coin. You could have been the most popular kid in school, but that wasn't the way it went.
Yeah, they didn't like that very much. And that continued throughout. I kind of learned how to suppress the talent for a while. I wanted to be like everyone else for a long time. And then my mom, we call her Barb, and she would always be the stickler behind me going, Michelle, this is what you're meant to do. Like, other kids don't come home and practice in their room for hours and hours and look in their mirror and pretend they're doing music videos. Like, I could see the videos. And my mom's like, you just keep doing it. So I did. And I have to say, I'm glad I stuck with it.
I'm glad you stuck with it. Now, the plagiarism thing, I was recently talking to a rapper, and I remember the early days of rap music, hip-hop music. The only way, we didn't have drum machines in the late 70s, early 80s when rap was starting. And me, as the DJ, my job, I had an MC, and I was DJ dancing Danny G, and I would find the breaks in the songs to play for the MC, for the DJ, the MC that would do the rapping. Now, when it started out, the MC would rap about me. Hey, look, it's Dancing Danny G on the 1s and 2s, and I say, and I would be playing a beat that was already made. So yeah, I guess I plagiarized. Mostly it was live. But, I thought that when you do the piano, when you take piano lessons, and that same sister I was talking about, Heather, she took piano lessons, and one of the exercises was to write your own song. Was that when you started writing your own song on the piano?
No.
Oh.
The piano, it was a strict school-like setting, and it was, this is a book, and these letters are going to learn to read. But see, what I didn't know, and they didn't know how to teach me. I can hear perfect pitch. So to this day, I cannot read a lick of music. But if you put me in a studio, I stump everyone because my brain translates it, and I'm perfect pitch. So it's very odd. And I know what notes go together, and they actually do go together. And if they don't, somehow I find a way to make them go together. And it's just kind of like, this is all I'm good at my whole life. So I can toot my own horn a little bit when it comes to that, because this is all I do. But that is true. I cannot read music, but somehow I can make music and it fits perfect. So
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many guitarists, how many drummers, how many trombone players, people that I've talked to on this podcast that have been, sitting in that same window that you're in on the video, that don't read music but are professional musicians. Their brains are working in a different direction. I can't read music. I can't write music. I can't play music, Not that I haven't. If I would put my mind to it, I could probably do it. I could probably get through it. But I don't have that initial gift, that initial skill where the chemicals in your brain turn your thoughts into a melody, into music. This is something that you seem to have.
I think we all have these gifts. And for instance, with you, you're so gifted at displaying people's talent. It takes a very a selfless, confident person to do what you do and to appreciate it the way I can see your face. You appreciate what you do. And I think if we all kind of embrace our talent like that, I think things would be a little different. We wouldn't have jealousy to go around because we would we'd enjoy what we have to offer the world instead of, put other people down for what they have.
Well, my man Tony Black, who I've had on the podcast, he says you have to clap for people, and I think I've been doing that since '86. I started on the radio back then. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I graduated '86, and I said, well, I like talking to people. I like music. I like putting people forward. The radio business is pretty much the job of the DJ is to promote other people, whether it be the musicians or the people that advertise with you. You're promoting them. And what I like to do is push you forward. I don't have the God-given talent that you have, whether you believe in God or not. I don't have that talent that you have, but I appreciate that talent. And all it takes is a split second to share it on social media. Now that we have this wonderful technology, we can use it for good. We can share your content. I can put a like on it. I can put a share on it. And bam, absolutely. Maybe some more eyeballs and some more ears get to listen to Michelle Aspen. Now, I've talked to a few friends of yours over the last few months and on this podcast, and tell me about the associations that you have. Not to get too far ahead, because we're still. Well, shoot, I guess I am getting too far ahead if I start asking you about that. I want to talk about your, where you finished up in school. Did you finish in Georgia? And by the time you were through high school, what had you learned, and what extracurricular activities were you getting into?
Music. That was the extracurricular. I was fortunate to have like a little home studio base that I could go to. And there was a guy that had met me when I was about 13, and he opened up his home studio to me. So I could go there and write, and I met some really cool friends that actually were like me. And so that was like my, not man cave, but my woman cave, I guess, or girl cave back then. And so that's where I would go in the afternoons. I did, at 17, my mom and my dad, again, they actually took out their retirement to get me to Nashville again, but this time to record and my own songs at that. And so it was the game changer. I met Pat Lassiter when I was 17 years old, and he looked me dead in the face, and he's like, "You really wrote those?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was like, "You belong here." And I said, "I know," because you could feel it. I get chills saying it. Like, when you get to Nashville, I feel like if you're meant to be there, your whole body will tell you that you're meant to be there. And it did. So I had, that was my junior year. So by my senior year, everyone knew I was leaving. Everyone knew I was going to Nashville. And so that was the plan. I graduated and I started traveling to Nashville. I enrolled in a junior college there because sometimes school came second because music kind of overtook all of that. And so I enrolled in a junior college for engineering. And so because I always said if my brain ever gets loose, meaning if someone could ever hear the symphonies I hear in my head, it's over. It's over. So I wanted to go to school for engineering. And then I had a couple of record labels looking at me, and everything was going to plan until it was not.
Well, what kind of engineering, before you go any further, what kind of engineering were you looking into?
Audio production.
Oh, that kind of engineering. Okay.
Right,
engineering
I
is
can't build a plane or a train or any kind of technology. You don't want to get on any of it if I invent it or make it.
Okay. Well, that's where we're at. People that are listening to this are thinking engineer. What, choo, that kind of engineer? What? So audio, not only do you want to sing the songs, but you want to know how to record the songs. At 13 years old, this is around 2000. Computers are just taking over. People are still doing analog recording as well on tape.
Yeah.
But, when you had that studio that was afforded to you back in Georgia, was he using a computer, or was he using tape, reel to reel, or tapes of some kind?
He was beginning, so Cakewalk was actually one of the very first programs, and we were both trying to tackle Cakewalk. So, and it was only us, so I would be pressing record. So I was learning already how to do it. But yeah, Cakewalk is what we started on.
Oh yeah, I mean, I took radio communications back in '86 when I first got into this, but then I had to get a refresher just about that time. About 2003, I went back to the Connecticut Schools of Broadcasting. But I know, not to, once again, spoiler alert, I know that you just graduated from SAS. Tell people.
SAE, but I've actually graduated from Connecticut School of Broadcasting as well.
What?
That's like, I thought you knew that, and like you just threw that out there. That's I was like, how did you find out about that? Like,
no,
I did.
That's where I went. The one in Miami. And you, where did you? The one in Nashville?
Yes. So like to hurry, I guess this 2 paragraphs that's going in crazy like long. But so I found out I was pregnant.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go back to what is it? Somewhere around 17, 18 years old. Is that what you're talking about?
So it's 18, and I had graduated the year before, so August, and by March, I was pregnant with my son, and life kind of paused. I didn't know, I knew I still wanted to get to Nashville, but I guess kind of I thought that maybe this is my plan now is to him, so I want to be around my parents who he was the first child in the family since me. So I knew that it would be really special for them. But what we didn't count on was him getting very sick. When I was 31 weeks pregnant, somehow he caught a virus while I was pregnant, and it literally made his heart quit. And mine was working as a life support machine for him. And so they wanted me to abort, and I was like, oh no. I was like, we're not doing that. And they strapped me to a bed, and for 3 months I lived at a hospital. And that's what, with a 2% life expectancy. And that was being nice. That was giving me a little tiny bit of hope that I needed to hear that morning. But no, it was unreal. I delivered in Atlanta so that he could be airlifted immediately to Children's. He was. We got to Children's, and I wore a pager on my side for when I got the call. It was very traumatic. It was very scary. It was, I don't wish it on anyone. And the moms or dads out there that have been through it, you become a whole different type of soldier after that. It was absolutely insane. But the good news is his heart, as quick as he got sick, his heart began to wake up and work. And he is almost 15 now, and he's doing wonderful. Bad. He's a teenager, and I don't know what these people are thinking with like 4 of them at the same time or something. Like, I don't know how they do it.
Michelle Aspen, you had me on a roller coaster ride. I was hoping for the best, but thinking maybe for the worst. And I'm like, oh, they're 15 years old. Yes, happy ending. Yes, the baby has survived. That's fantastic. And, this is because of you. I attribute that to you. 18 years old, my brain wasn't even formed. And here you are bringing another life into the world. Not a lot of 18-year-olds are ready for that. And I from what you said, you weren't ready for that, but you did it.
Right. I was technically 19, but might as well have been 18. Might as well have been still a baby, right? Yeah. But I did tell, and I had gotten a job at Clear Channel Radio back in Savannah, Georgia, and they had hired me, expecting everything, and I loved radio. I was like on every commercial in Savannah because I would go into the engineering or the production room, and I'd mess around with the scripts, and I just loved to read them. And so, I said, if my son can make it, I'm going to make it. And a lady named Alicia that worked at Clear Channel with me helped me pack my little desk up. And she said, I have a couple of friends. And boy, did she. She sent me right on the road to Nashville. I had Jaden. He was maybe 4.5 months. We were on heart meds. We were on 14 heart meds a day. But you know what? We did it. I moved to a city that I knew no one but that Tanya Tucker on that stage. I knew of her, right? Like I didn't know anyone in that city, and I made it work.
Well, and so you're a single mom in Nashville with a 4-month-old, and you said you knew one producer that told you that you belonged there. What was that producer's name?
Pat Lassiter, and that's the one that just produced my newest one, or engineered the newest one. We never lost. I mean, I knew Pat was my guy from like the day one, and because the thing is that that's the next part, is that when I moved to town, I remember a friend of mine, her name's Michelle. She actually was the guitarist, and we had met in that little studio back in Georgia when we were young. So she did come up with me for a while and lived too. And I remember we went to like a very professional, like he had made it guy. We went to his house and he was like, girls, I'm not going to waste your time. And he gave us this whole speech, and I'm just like looking around like, what is this? And he was like, if you're not good enough, I really want you guys to know, because this is a hard town. And he wasn't kidding. It is horrible. It's a very hard town. But we performed for him, and his face just kind of got really like, I didn't know if he was about to tell us we were horrible or what, but he looked and he said, yep, you're supposed to be here.
Oh, okay.
And that was like and the people along the way, it was just like, whether I was out getting a hot dog, whether I was singing karaoke at Lonnie's Western Room, which put up with me and hired me so I could make a living while I was there. They believed in me back before I realized like I had it. Right? Like I'm the last one to the party. It took me forever to realize like I really could do this. So Nashville was the best thing I ever did.
Michelle Aspen, this is primarily a learning podcast, and if people want to follow in your footsteps, maybe a young girl has a little baby boy and says, hey, that's close to my story, and I do want to get to Nashville. I was wondering, how did you support you and said little boy? And you said you were at KJ. You became a karaoke jock. And was that two or
in common here?
What's that?
You and I have a lot in common here.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. You got it, but with that kind of a job, like the music business in general, you have to be a hustler. You have to say, hey, do you guys need karaoke over there? How about over there? How about over there? How about over there? Do you need a DJ? Or did you have this person that was hiring you out? Well, you had an agent that was hiring you out 2 or 3 days a week, making the ends meet, I guess.
So I'll tell you how it works in Nashville.
Okay.
In a karaoke setting. Well, first, everyone's serious about singing. So you go to your local spots. The people will come to you. And this Lonnie's Western Room is probably, God, now 50, 60 years old. They used to be in Printer's Alley. And I'm talking basically the girls there. One was on American Idol when I moved. I'm talking they were good. So you had to be the best to get the best nights. And the best nights came with the most money. And so you literally, it was cutthroat for your shifts. They provided all your clothes, your nails, like they helped you look great. But if you couldn't sing, you couldn't cut it, you didn't get the shifts. And so you better believe I learned how to sing 100 karaoke songs so quick. I remember my first night, my voice, I couldn't speak. I had really sang my heart out, like couldn't. And but by the end of it, I was in shape. I could sing you any country song that there was, and if I didn't know it, I was making it up.
Okay, what I'm wondering is that what's your go-to? Did you go back to Whitney Houston from when you were 3 and 4 years old?
Never again. Whether I have a love-hate relationship with country music, but it definitely is where my voice sits, and that genre is where I belong. Vocally, I love venturing out other places with, in music, but country music is home. And my first song of the night was always Dina Carter, We Danced Anyway.
That's fantastic. See, now that's like 90s country, right? Is that where is that where you live? Shania Twain, Faith Hill, that kind of a thing? I guess
it is.
Okay. And now but beyond that, you're writing your own songs. You never stopped writing. When did you start recording your own songs, and what was that first song, and where can we find it? Where can the people buy it?
I think there might still be a SoundCloud out there with Where Will You Be? I wrote that in 10th grade, and then we took that to Nashville when I was 17. I wrote a Christian song that made our local newspaper. It touched this girl. I had no idea. She was like suicidal, and like she heard my teenage prayer song and it resonated, and she saved her life, but I guess this inspired her to continue to like live. So that's when I'm learning. I'm like, this is hitting home with people. So Teenage Prayer, Where Will You Be, Another Day. Those were the three that I recorded at 17. And then that's when like I said, Pat Lassiter, at that time, he was just touring with Tracy Lawrence. And so Tracy Lawrence, that's what kept Pat busy. So when Pat was on the bus, he had a laptop and he was starting to learn. He was like, hey, I could do this engineering thing. So he started dabbling, and now look at him. I mean, he's brilliant. So, because this was 15 years ago. And
well, one of the things that I did, when I was I don't research too much on these things, but I was doing a little research. I did find your SoundCloud, and there's a lot of things out there from 5 years ago. Where Will You Be is the latest one that's out there, and you have You're the Reason and Teenage Prayer and Little Love Spell. Just tons and tons of smooth songs that should be hits. They should be out there. But unfortunately, on that SoundCloud, there's maybe, there's not a lot of eyeballs that are listening to it. Not a lot of ears that had the chance to listen to it if you look at the followers and what have you. But I'm listening to the songs. They're recorded well. They're mixed relatively well. They could be on the radio. Why, why not? That's the frustration of an independent artist. Or an artist of any kind, is these beautiful songs. Why aren't they being listened to? Well,
I'll tell you a story. And I know now Taylor Swift is a superstar, yes, but there was a time where she was not. And I found her on a 3 a.m. country rotation. And what stuck out to me was that Little Love Spell song you mentioned. She had written Tim McGraw, and she was singing around a fire, and I heard the lyrics and I was like, that girl writes like me. I was like, that's weird. So I drugged my mom and my two friends all the way to Nashville again. At this point, I'm going to Nashville all the time. This is right before Jaden. So this was 18. And I actually went to Taylor's very first show, $12 at the Wild Horse Saloon. I sat behind her parents and her friends, and it was a good little show, and afterwards we were talking, and I told her about recording, and we were just like, I was like, our lyrics are similar, and she looked at me and she was like, I'll see you at the top. No, I've never forgotten that. And the thing that is very interesting is we have paralleled in a lot of ways since, down to working with the same manager. After that, it's really neat how it kind of always stuck in my head. And but the baby thing was a little off the beaten path. Taylor did not have a baby. I did. So I definitely feel like that took a little bit of my momentum away. And at that point, we have really come far musically, us independent musicians in general. Even 10 years ago, there wasn't a platform. If you paid to have these songs recorded, which I did, it was still hard to get the listeners unless you had a record deal. There's no such thing as a record deal anymore, barely. You know what I mean? You don't need it anymore. But so I've really had to watch these times change, and now is actually one of the first. This and last year has been my first opportunity to get the old stuff back out and actually get it listened to for the first time, and then to continue to write and bring the new stuff in. And if I only just had enough money to sit and be in the studio, I could be in there 1.5 years, 2 years. The material is unreal.
Yeah, from what I'm understanding is the record companies these days, they don't even want to touch you unless you've already made it. You've already done the footwork. You've already got 100,000 fans on Instagram. You've already done the legwork, and then they go, let me see if I can steal some, make some money off of that, Yeah, and I think I slipped up and said steal, but I meant what I said.
Right.
And I said what I said. It used to be the record companies were desperate for the artist, and yes, they wanted to make money, but everybody had the chance to make money. Now it's the record companies waiting for you to get on that stage in front of 50,000 people and then go, hey, you know what, I want to manage you, I want to produce your next record. Yeah, because you've already done it. You can with a record company, with a record label that has enough distribution, you could sell a million records and make $100,000 for the artist. Or as an independent artist, you could sell 100,000 records and make $100,000 for the artist.
Right.
It's just that push.
I have a theory here, and I could be totally wrong, but I do agree with absolutely everything you just said. And piggybacking off of that, I feel like you can appear to be the whole package, right? You can have the look. You can have daddy paying the money. Maybe not. Maybe you pay the money. You can buy all the likes on Instagram you like. You can have a quadrillion followers. But one day, somebody's going to put a mic in your hand. And you better sound the way you portray yourself. If I sing right now, what you see is what you get. You're going to hear me and you're going to listen to my recording, and that's what I sound like. And I think we've gotten lost in auto-tune and buying our listeners land. And eventually, one of these days, real talent's going to prevail.
Well, that's what that's what I was thinking, the auto-tune. And I don't want to blame auto-tune. Auto-tune has been a wonderful tool for the recording industry. If you want to be a recording artist, you can use auto-tune all day long to make interesting sounds, different types of foot pedals to make interesting sounds with your guitar. Your keyboard can do lots of synthesizing, but for that live performance, you need to have the actual talent, in your voice, in your guitar playing, in your piano playing, your drumming. You have to have that talent. And if you don't have it, then you can't go on the road. You can't go and portray yourself somewhat like you did on the record. Because when people are going out, they want you to sound maybe not exactly like the record, because they know that's, in a studio, but they want you to sound somewhat, or at least like a pro when you get out there. Now, you're talking about the look. All right. I've seen lots of pictures of you. You've got the look. You have a photogenic quality about you to where you can make that look. And if that look translates on stage, that last picture, okay, there's a picture, your Facebook photo, and your friend Jordan Works said, I may or may not have made this suggestion. And it's you just standing in front of a wall, just a selfie, maybe a little bit of makeup, your hair's done just right, but it's a selfie, and bam, photogenic quality. So you've got that part of the package. You photograph well. I'm sure that's something that's been told to you in the past, correct?
I brought a picture. I can't believe it's like all falling into place, but I brought this out to show you because this is the face of a determined little girl. This is me in my Tanya Tucker outfit, not the black one, but the only one my mom would make for me and let me wear. But that's my little serious face. Like, I've always wanted to do it, It's always been in the plan. Now
I definitely encourage people to listen to watch the video version. Now, you said your mom made that for you. Let's talk about your mom. Okay, her and your dad, your adoptive parents, who are your parents for all intents and purposes, the intents and purposes. But for all that is. What did your mom do besides sewing you great Tanya Tucker like outfits?
So I'm like my mom's everything, which is so special to me, and I don't take it lightly anymore. She dresses me. She listens to all my craziness. She encourages me. Like, my mom is like the dream mom. Like, she was the one that my house was full of friends, because my house, I had the cool parents that they weren't up your, they weren't up your butt, like asking questions, but they knew where we were. And, my mom just embraced the whole thing. She lived for me, which is really special.
That is.
My dad thought I was the weirdest thing that ever walked the planet, I'm pretty sure, but he's all redneck and he's awesome. And he's struggling with emphysema right now, which is pretty sad to watch. But Dad, we try to keep him positive. And, I guess as I get older and realize that time is so fragile, which I learned with Jaden at a very early age, everything means so much more. And the little things don't mean, the little drama and the he said, she said, it doesn't mean anything. And I actually have a song about that called Little Outcast. And that's not out. You're encouraging me. I need to get this music out. There are so many songs just sitting there that just never had a place to, like, a platform, I really do need to get out.
Well, yeah, looking at the SoundCloud, it looks like it ended 5 years ago. It stopped, that as far as that platform, it stopped. And if I go to YouTube, there's very few videos or songs out there attributed only to you. Now, some other people have put your songs out there, and I do want to talk about some of that. But you said your dad has emphysema. How did that get brought on? Was it smoking?
Smoking.
Okay.
Yep. I guess, back then they really didn't know how bad cigarettes are. And I try to tell people that are, attempting the music business, like, please don't smoke if you want to sing. Like, it's not cool. It's not okay. It's killing you. But you also are, those vocal cords can't withstand it. And that's really what happened. Keep smoking and the result, and it will happen. And,
well, it's a cautionary tale, to be sure. My mom smoked since she was a teenager, probably 15 or so, but she quit smoking the day that my grandfather got diagnosed with throat cancer. So that was, quit, cold turkey, done. So hopefully people that are listening to this that do smoke, stop it. Slap them in the face. Stop it. I mean,
we have too much information these days to, stay on the earth with us a little longer. Like, I don't know.
I mean, hey, yucking people's yums. Everybody's got their vices. I eat way too much for the exercise that I do.
Alcohol about killed me, so I am not anyone to talk. But the smoking thing, it's just like, my grandfather, and it wasn't cigarette smoke that killed him. It was from Hiroshima, however people pronounce it. He cleaned that up. And so he actually died of, like, radiation and lung cancer that he got from overseas. And that was awful to watch. So
KeysDAN says, what? Wait a minute. Your grandfather was part of the cleanup. Was he an American, like a GI that went over to help out with the effort to clean up? Because that's one thing about Americans. When we go to war and bomb their countries, we kind of help them clean up afterwards for some reason. It's like going to a party and then helping the people to clean up afterwards. I know that's a sick way of saying it, and really lighthearted way of saying it. But you say your grandfather went and helped with the cleanup effort. What was that?
From what I guess when I lost him at 10, but he used to always talk about going overseas. He was in the Navy, and my dad's dad, they both fought World War II. And actually, a cool story, my dad's dad, my grandpa, and my great-grandfather were drafted at different times, and they went over and fought. Well, they actually met up together and got to fight side by side, and they did, like, a whole newspaper workup. So, yeah, the men in my life were very strong figures. They raised me right. I don't need a man. I don't need somebody to like me. I'm me. And but they taught me how to be tough, and they really were. They're the strongest, best men in my life.
My goodness, Michelle Aspen, if you ever decide to write a screenplay, that's a superhero action movie right there. Your grandfathers meeting up with each other and fighting side by side. That it reminds me of the Wolverine fighting with the Sabretooth, side by side in the war, going out there because they're men's, and they're fighting for, freedom and what have you. I mean, look, I wish there was no war. Yeah, I wish there was no war. Just like everybody, hopefully everybody in the world, the most sane people wish there was no war. Why do we have to fight? If we have this Navy, which is great, why can't they just be, helping people all over the world? Why do we fight? Why? Why do humans fight so much?
I don't know. I used to be a little rough when I was growing up, and I'd punch you, but then like growing up and getting older, I'm like, well, A, you can't do that, and then B, it's just like, what's the point? I don't know. I guess it all kind of boils down to that golden rule, do unto others. And if everyone did that, nobody wants to be punched in the face, and nobody wants war. So if we all followed that golden rule, darn it.
Well, you know what? It's got to be in the close to the 100%, but still, there's that chosen few that want to be punched in the face. It's weird. Those are some strange fetishes that I cannot figure out. The people that are into that, crazy. But I digress. Well, I mean, talking about fetishes and vices, you already hinted that alcohol took hold of you. My grandfather was, alcoholic, and my mom, who's been on this podcast, really spilled out, her alcoholism and how things, how she's come back in recovery. Tell me how the drink took hold of you.
So it did it very secretly, very silently. It was, I always judged my alcoholism. Like, I guess I always would look at my peers. Like, if we all go to a bar and we all have 3 beers, well, we're all equal. But what I didn't realize is that where my friends could go home and sleep and then go to work the next day, I used to do that. But at one point, that invisible line was crossed. And I didn't want to admit it. Drinking was my favorite pastime. Like, it was my favorite loosen, have fun, be chill. I thought I had convinced myself that I was a better singer. I was funnier. I was certainly, I guess had better ideas and was thoughtful. I had literally given alcohol so much credit that when I crossed that invisible line, those were my excuses, and they built up for years. If I just drank a little bit differently, or if I switched from vodka to beer, or you play yourself. You are your best player. You can play yourself into anything you want to if you are, if it's something you're hell bent on. And by the time I figured out I was an alcoholic, I didn't want anybody to know, but I didn't want to stop drinking either.
Well, give me a timeline on that. When did that start? Was it before the baby? Was it after the baby?
All of this was post baby, which, mind you, I did not go get therapy after. And I don't think therapy is going to save the world, but I think everyone needs someone to talk to. And I should have probably at that moment reached out when we got home and we made it. Unfortunately, though, I took it as my baby lived, and I saw so many babies die that I had nothing to complain about. So just suck it up, and that was the wrong idea, because the drinking began, so I would drink when I was happy. I would drink when I was sad. And, I left Nashville. So just to kind of brief everything that you do here online. So I worked with Big Machine for an extremely short time. My birth mom did come into town long enough to ruin that. And that was devastating. Yet again, didn't get therapy, didn't speak to anyone, and I had just lost a record deal of my dreams. It was the tough one, and I should have asked for help, but I didn't. So that happened. I ran home, and I met one of the best, in my top 3 people I've ever known. Brian Cox is his name, and he is also a piano player. And he saw me going downhill, right? So I'm home. He sees that I've given up, and somehow he still believed in me as well. And he also, and he too, he was having some life decisions to work through, and he was coming out of an 18-year relationship. So what we did was we locked ourselves in my childhood bedroom for a year, and we wrote an amazing album. That's my second album, actually. There's one, I really have to post this stuff, but the first one was called Speechless, and that was that album. And then that was with an engineer named Mark Eric, and that was great. This was off the record. Like Nashville, you tend to like try to follow each other, and as dog eat dog as it is, every dog looks like the other dog because you follow the trends. And I had lost myself, and so my drinking started to get a lot better when I got into my childhood bedroom. I mean, we called it happy hour, but you can't be drunk and write a song that is any good. So it gave me an outlet. And so for a year, the alcoholism was sort of postponed, and I was thriving because I was working through these feelings, and it was my therapy. Made this amazing album that I'm so protective of that I don't let people hear, because the only recordings of it we got, and this, I also found my idol, Tori Amos, during this time. It was by pure accident. And yeah, she's a goddess. And so we went to a little piano studio in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and we got recordings of, I believe it was 6 of the 10 songs that were going on the album. Well, a hurricane ended up like ruining the studio, so we actually have like some of the last recordings that studio ever saw. But it doesn't compete in the Nashville world. It doesn't have auto-tune, none. It doesn't have takes and punch-ins. This is so raw that I felt like some people wouldn't know how to take it. That's why I shelved it. I thought that, if the day comes where I have the financial ability to give that album what it's worth, the world can hear it. And it is killer. It's amazing.
So what you're needing is an audio engineer that has the ear, that can remaster, that can put it through the right processes to get it to where it needs to be, or what is it?
An engineer that knows how to, because I produce, right? I hear it in my head. That's what gives me the melody. So I hear it in the forefront. Now, I do lose interest as far as like, I'm so excited to get it out. I love an open studio where my players can make up their own riffs. Or I love it when I see my players feel something I've written. When I watch the song literally overtake them and they make it theirs, I'll let that go. I think that that's some of the best moments you can capture in a studio. I learned that early on. So yeah, that's my favorite part. It's not being Miss Director's chair. I'm not about that. I want to see what you can do with the work that I made up.
Well, that's just it. We can't do it all by ourselves. We can get to a certain level, but we need that discerning ear, that somebody who doesn't have any skin in the game. Because if we try to edit our own things, we won't know what to cut, because everything we love, every bit of it. So yeah, it's nice to have
every bit of it
somebody
for no reason.
Yeah.
Either way, don't go anywhere.
Yeah, some impartial ear that can handle that. But okay, Tori Amos. Love Tori Amos. Probably the greatest redhead since Lucille Ball. Fantastic. I mean, what do you love about Tori Amos? We're talking about a live performer, and there's someone not only has a recording career, but live performing. Tell me about Tori Amos and what she means to you.
So I had heard about Tori through Brian. Brian I knew he loved Tori Amos. I did not know who she was. I knew Alanis Morissette toured with her at one point. So that's sort of where I made that connect. And it was by pure accident that maybe not. Maybe he played it on purpose. But I was left in Brian's truck one day. And we call everyone in our groups call it the Tori stories. But I was left in his truck. And the song Wild Way off the Unrepentant Geraldine's album, 2016, came out, and I heard it. As a songwriter, it was everything I've ever wanted to say in one song in 3 minutes and something. And it was just so blunt and real that I was like, oh my God, like, what have I been doing? You know, like, she literally mastered everything I'm feeling. And so I decided that day that I wanted to affect, if I could have 1% of the effect that Tori Amos has on her people, like EWF, we're not called fans. She calls us Ears with Feet. So Ears with Feet, follow this woman around. And I'm talking 20 years, 25 years, 30 years of studying her and what she stands for, what she's about, what she's not about. And then, you know, but her take on an audience, if I could just do 1% of what she can do to a crowd that get her, I don't need a big arena. I don't need a light show that's to die for. That is cool to watch. I love those, right? Like, music's great. I love it. It's first anyway. But to watch someone and a piano, right? Like, when pianos try to beat guitars, honey, like, the piano wasn't a cool instrument. It wasn't. It wasn't the hottest guitar. She made a piano not just appealing to the younger people. She put words behind it that competed with, I mean, Brian was in love with Marilyn Manson. Like, he was that outraged and, like, in love with this, I guess, rebellious music, I guess. And then a redhead can sit at a piano and say, excuse me, but can I be you for a while? My dog won't bite if you sit real still. I got the Antichrist in the kitchen yelling at me again. What? Like, people in the 90s, you know, they did. They made their little signs that Taylor Swift talks about. It must have taken all night. Those people about lost their minds for the honesty and the realness that she brought to the table.
Well, I mean, the thing about the piano versus a guitar, you can't just pick up a piano and put it on your back and go out to the street corner and play. It takes a little bit of effort to get a piano out there. You're talking about Marilyn Manson, and every time somebody brings that up, I went to high school, 9th and 10th grade, with Brian Warner, aka Marilyn Manson. I never knew him, but at my high school reunion, somebody said, oh, there he is in our 9th grade pictures and our 10th grade pictures right there next to you. I'm like, huh, how about that? So, yeah, down in Fort Lauderdale. Wow. Down in Fort Lauderdale. I think he moved away from our school in 11th and 12th grade, so he graduated from someplace else. But to have that talent right there next to you, the reason I harped on Tori Amos, you know, these are the people that we're always standing on the shoulders of giants. These are the people that have inspired you. Tanya Tucker at an early age, Tori Amos more recently. You know, the people that bring you forward, that open your mind to different things. And then having Brian Cox bring a Marilyn Manson into the mix, yeah, that's got to open you up even more. And then you still keep yourself. He had
actually quit Marilyn Manson by that time, but he long lived Marilyn Manson days, you know, but he had already dove into, you know, to Tori. But yes, I mean, it's just the influential women, Loretta Lynn, Reba McEntire, all of those country ladies paved the way for a little Georgia girl with the accent to go and, you know, stick it to the man and the guys. That's where I guess I got my confidence from growing up. But then I didn't have a direction. I didn't have that one person that I wanted to be like on a stage, off the stage. Like, we all call her Mama Tori because she's paved the way for so many of us. And that is kind of what made it different, was that she's the lifelong, you know, goal.
Well, I mean, it sounds, you say that you had, it sounds like you had strong male influences in your life between your father and your grandfathers. You had men that you could look up to that, you know, I guess what is it? All girls fall in love with their dads and try to hopefully they have a good dad that gives them a good example, and that's the man. If you're heterosexual, of course, got to put that on there. But that's the man that you look for a mate in your life, or the type of person. If your parents get along with each other, you want to have that kind of a relationship. I mean, how?
Without a doubt.
Well, I mean, I know I'm taking some time from you, but how's the love situation? Are you finding happiness in that respect, or is it Michelle going solo through life right now?
So that's a good question, and the answer to that is after I'm continuing the story, and you just said Fort Lauderdale, which makes it perfect. So after Brian ended up having endeavors in South Georgia that he had to go and help with his family, and basically that album was over too soon, and I felt like my music had been ripped away from me again. The alcohol came back full force, and at this point I had to go get help, and I got help in Fort Lauderdale. And Recovery Unplugged helped me save my life. I did the entire program. I opened up about all these feelings, from the record deal to the sick baby. They taught me feeling things was okay. They gave me all those tools in the toolbox that I needed. And they also didn't make you feel like an idiot or like a lower person that alcohol stumped me. It did. It got me. Woohoo. It doesn't make me a bad person. It did get me put off a little later in life to any sort of big girl life moves. But my son joined me in Fort Lauderdale. He was there the day I got out of residential, and it was 3 months, I think, of just long, hard work. Jaden joined me, and we got better together on the beach in Fort Lauderdale for that year. We lived off of A1A. You could not have asked for a better location. We got better in Paradise. And then I knew it was time to get back to Nashville. So the dating thing, I was dating myself, I had these goals, and now that the alcohol was the best thing I ever put down, because I didn't realize how exhausting it was, how I wouldn't even consider going places that didn't serve beer. It's like a full-time job to be an alcoholic. So with that put to the side, I was full force again, back to Nashville. And I've hit the ground running ever since. I joined SAE to yet again get this engineering. But, again, that COVID put a block on things, and I didn't learn anywhere near what I should have. I remember January 11th is when I started. March 15th, they shut the doors and they didn't open them back up. But I learned so much from January 11th to March 15th. I told him, I said, I'll pay you for every single day I was at that place, because I did. I learned so much. But then after it closed, I kind of was like, man, why does this happen every time I go to either get good on an instrument or I go to learn the engineering skills? But I know there's a reason out there. I just don't know, or a purpose or something. I just don't know what it is.
Well, I'm very happy that I took the time to go to class and to find out what the tools were. But the only way to get the experience is to get on those tools and work them. And it sounds like you've had access to several boards, microphones of different kinds, and different recording studios. So you have the ability to see and hear and learn not just how to sing, which you do very well, in my humble opinion, but you also have the ability to record yourself singing and make at least a decent demo record. But you don't. My goodness, there's so much music you say that's been shelved. I mean, the late great Prince reportedly has hundreds of hours of music, fully produced music that's sitting on a shelf that hasn't seen the light of day. And, now that he's passed away, hopefully we get to listen to that. But I don't want to wait that long for you, Michelle Aspen. I want you to get that music out there. The people need to hear it. We're thirsty for it. We got to know.
The thing with me is, some people, they, for instance, move to Nashville and they want to learn how to write a song. I want to learn how to stop writing a song. it's exhausting. It's a double-edged sword because you think like, oh, I wish I could do that. Are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to be? Because I do believe in call it inspiration, call it muses, call it whatever, but it exists, you know. And when that thing takes a hold of me, if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't matter. I have to finish the thought. I have to put it on paper or the computer or the cell phone, whatever. I have to, or else there is no sleeping. So it does get a little demanding sometimes, but there's hundreds is the short like reality to that. There's hundreds and hundreds of songs. They don't stop.
Well, Michelle Aspen, you know, I do clubs every weekend, somewhat like I'm sure you go to clubs a lot, and people are drinking alcohol to wind down, to forget their problems, to forget the problems that they had all week long, to calm themselves down. If you have all these thoughts in your head as a creator, you know, alcohol might have dulled it a little bit, but you've taken, you know, that you took it to the extreme. So you had to get rid of that. Now, when you have the muses banging at your head, you know, they're telling you, hey, go write this down, put this down. You know, how do you keep the muses at bay right now? What calms you down?
They say, girl, we've got work to do. You had a fun 20s. Like, get to the board. Let's go. And so I just don't sleep a lot.
Oh, goodness. Well, you got to have some time for you, some you time, some wind down time, you know, the family. You say you had the 15-year-old boy. Any other babies pop out since then? Or no. Okay. No. So you're living for that only child. Now, did you have any brothers and sisters? You sound like you were an only child.
I was.
So, yeah, your mom.
And my family, we're fortunate enough for the family that raised me to get to raise Jaden too. I have an aunt. Between my aunt's house, my parents' house, and whatever house I'm in, Jaden has always had 3 bedrooms, always had 3 wardrobes. He doesn't put a pair of shoes on his feet unless they're his Jordan, whatever. Like, Jaden doesn't go without, for sure. Jaden has his own mind. I've always kind of watched to see if he wanted to do music. He's into dirt bikes, and that's great. Scary, but great. And once in a while he'll get a wild hair and he'll say, Mom, can you help me write this? And it's rap right now. So I'm like, and I can write a rap song. So I'm like, let me see what you have, and then we'll sit there and we'll work it out. And it's cool to watch his mind work. But I don't think it's gonna be his passion. But I think, you know, he'll be good at it if he ever gives it a shot.
Yeah, I think I recently had that conversation. Slam poetry can easily be turned into a hip hop song, you know, a poem, just with a beat, you know. And I know that there's a lot of producers out there that sell beats, and then maybe he'll get into, what is it, Fruity Loops? I think now it's called FL Studios. Yeah, I played with that for a long time. I had a great time trying to make my own beats and figure things out, and maybe I could be a rapper. No, I'm the DJ. He's the MC. But then I end up being the MC as well. You know, I just don't rap, so to speak.
Speaking of that, Eminem, since I was 12, Eminem has inspired me. My lyrics, he taught me, like, you know, for instance, like he did an interview where someone said, you can't rhyme with the word purple. And he like smiled at her and he's like, watch, like, you don't have to rhyme with purple. You just have to be a girl who goes and does this. And I'm like, he just rhymed with purple on that lady. Like, she even catch it, you know? But my lyrics, I've learned how to piece my lyrics together, and they literally laugh at me in the studio. If there's not room for a line to fit, just go to Michelle. She's gonna make it fit. Like, if I need that to fit, it's gonna fit. I promise.
All right.
We're going to get that whole song down.
Full disclosure, Heavy D and the Boys was my rapper. All right, Heavy D. So, yes, the late, great Dwight. I can't remember his last name. But, you know, I guess when I was a firefighter down in Key Largo, on the back of my helmet, it was Heavy D. You know, everybody's got a nickname in the fire department, and mine was Heavy D.
I love it.
But, all right.
And Key Largo.
I love that we're chatting. I love that we're talking. I've taken a lot of time from you. We haven't even scratched the surface of who Michelle Aspen is. I've already had some of your friends on here. Tell me about your relationships with the people that I've had on this podcast, and then we'll wind this thing down and let you go to bed.
Thanks. So, and tea is great for bed. The bedtime tea does work. But yeah, so after the SAE thing and didn't work out in Nashville, I did meet Sarah Ashley, who is, she had her own agenda that she needed to accomplish. And so we kind of joined forces and said, well, here's what I need out of it. And in my case, I'm not really the best business marketer, as we can tell with none of my songs out anywhere. Like it's like a problem. Like I'll sit there and whatever, I'm not good at marketing myself. My mom gets mad at me all the time. She's like, Michelle, if you don't take the credit for it, someone else is going to be happy to. So I'm learning. See, at the beginning I'm not as confident. I try, but at the end of the day I'm just not good at it. Sarah's wonderful at it. Sarah can market, whatever they say, snow to an Eskimo or whatever. Like she is great. That's her niche. She has the music background. She hears amazing background, sounds. In her situation, she was ready to grow out of the EP that she had previously done in the past. So we both had stepping stones that we needed to accomplish with each other. And so we did. We joined forces. And we got a lot done. I think we wrote 74 songs in 1 year with several different people. And that's nothing. Like that's on a Wednesday. We both worked full-time jobs while we did that. So, and those songs, I guess, right now she's actually marketing those songs to different upcoming artists. And I'm excited to see where that goes. She's put her vocals, like her songs that we've designated for her. She's winning awards. It's amazing. I know of 2 that she's already won with the, like my material, like her, what we co-wrote together. So that's amazing. I just bought a house. So I'm growing up all around. And so I've been really preoccupied, like getting my house is 115 years old, wow. But the acoustics are killer. And so I'm busy like being a little Susie homemaker right now, trying to get, all of that settled. But so we don't, we haven't written lately, but Ian Anderson, he's been phenomenal to work with. Eddie Sash, he those lyrics, theirs, right? They're killer. They're amazing. And Pat Lassiter, the same guy from being 17 years old. There he is, the Riverfront Studios, and he's fantastic. He only uses the best of the best. So his whole A-team, fabulous, perfect. And they have the best deals around Nashville. I mean, I tell people you can pay $1 million for a good product, but you cannot pay anybody enough money to care. And Pat cares. And so that's the great part about that. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what comes next. Brian and I have plans on reuniting and either finishing what we started with the 8 songs, getting to 10, or maybe a whole new album. Who knows? And right now I just found 3 of my old ones that are already totally done with the band. So I'll be at Pat's like next week. I'm going to like camp out in his studio while I put vocals and get these ready to release, because those really are going to be released here very soon. So I'm excited. Well,
Michelle Aspen, that says a lot about you. You have long-lasting professional relationships. That says that you're loyal. You're good to work with. Sarah Ashley definitely says a lot of great things about you. I was told to ask you about Horses Roam. Horses Roam is probably the one song that you could find on YouTube. It's got a static picture of you, still not hosted by you. All the Michelle Aspen songs are hosted by either Savannah Now or there's Don Coyer has a little bit a song about that's hosted. I can't find a Michelle Aspen YouTube page.
So I actually have the domain. if anyone on this podcast is great at developing a website, hit me up. I have work for you. But I do own it, and it is coming. I promise it is. I just have to get that team you speak of, right?
Yes,
I have to do it.
We can't do it all by ourselves. But tell me about Horses Roam, and then we'll get on out of here.
So I had a write prior. I've had a couple of embarrassing situations and big writing sessions, and one of them was when there was a specific song that was like #1 on the radio, and I couldn't stand it. I will not say what song it is, but I went to, I believe that one was ACTAP to write with the group, and I like kind of made fun of the song when they said, "What do we want to write about?" I was like, "Not this." And this man stood up and like walked out the door. I did not know that was the writer of that song. So I literally was like, so I have to be really careful when it comes to things like that. But so Horses Roam, it scared me because I've never been out west. And if you know me, that is a dream of mine. I want to do the whole hippie van, not even know where we're going, literally go to the little Dixie Chicks wide open spaces. Like, it's a vision. So I wasn't comfortable writing about the West and Yellowstone material when I am scared of a horse, kind of. So I didn't know how I would really help that song. But then Sarah started to paint a visual. Eddie has these, like I said, the do na 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 na, and I'm like, ooh, because my brain will just go right there. It's like, oh, that? Let me see. Sarah's like making this horse galloping scenario, and then all of a sudden no matter what, I have to dig in my soul. Like, every song has some sort of a piece of me. I have to figure out a way to make it apply. And the next thing you know, I said, well, what if the song isn't necessarily about real horses? What if that's the only thing that the singer or the person in this story can relate to, that pounding feeling of knowing someone's coming back that's just going to leave again, just like a horse would be roaming. So that's how that song came to be. And then, of course, as luck would have it, I guess I did end up falling in love with it, and I wanted to cover, I took that one. I was like, I want to sing that one. I don't want to sell or pitch to someone else. I want that. And so that's what happened. And Horses Roam and Radio Silence, they're both available on all platforms. And, there's going to be a lot more to follow.
I'm looking forward to it. My goodness. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I appreciate it so much. Hopefully this helps. Let's get some more ears listening to Michelle Aspen. Now, you say you have a website that's coming, but how do people find you, connect to you? If they come into your DMs, business only, want to collaborate with you, where do they find you?
MichelleAspenMusic.com is the website. And Michelle Aspen on, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not really good at Instagram, but I try. So you can find me there too. Don't really have a Twitter, but you guys, that's the goal for 2023. It's going to be about me getting myself out there. So that's my big goal.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, something happened in 2013. Everything kind of stopped. I found a Twitter that kind of stopped in 2013. You stopped tweeting. No more tweeting for you. The last tweet was June 28th, 2013. It must be It must be a musician thing, right?
I went into hiding. I got to take a good hiatus every so once in a while.
Yes, that's why I use social media for professional stuff. You'll hardly ever find anything about my family on social media, which is the way I like it, because I'm an old man. Right. I like it. But it's nice to connect with people like you, and get to talk to you and find out what your story is, and hopefully, push you a little further than you already were. All right, let's finish this thing off. Always finish off with last words for the people. I don't want this to be the last time that we talk, of course, as things progress. When those songs do come out, I want you to come right back here. You don't have to tell this whole long story because you've already done it, and we just talk about what's going on right then. But last words for the people could be words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Michelle Aspen, give the last words for the people.
Well, of course, rightfully so. I'm going to sing it. Comes from Whoopi Goldberg and some Sister Act. If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention.
Well, there you have it, party people. Michelle Aspen. What a nice lady. What a talented lady. I encourage you, go find her on the SoundCloud. It gives you an idea of the sweetness, the smoothness, the training that she's had. Because by 2013, she's already been training at least, oh my goodness, close to 20 years, but beyond that, I mean, she's got at least 20 years in her repertoire of singing. And I look forward to those songs that are coming out. But take a listen to Horses Roam. That's one of the latest offerings. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's well made, well produced. The SoundCloud, the Michelle Aspen SoundCloud, I encourage you to find. I'm sure the website will be up soon enough. MichelleAspenMusic.com. Find that. And, I see nothing but great things coming for this young lady. I mean, I love meeting people, and I love finding their stories, and she's come through a lot. She's come through a lot. And, from what I understand about alcoholism, it's a constant battle. It's a fight, constantly. But I mean, that doesn't define her. What defines her is the music that keeps spewing, whether it be the muse or the voices in her head, metaphorically speaking, that make her write the music, make her live the experiences and then write them down as music and then record them, and then we get the benefit of listening to said music. So nice to finally actually have Michelle Aspen on the program. It's been a good 6 months in the making, trying to get schedules together. I've had her cohorts on between Eddie Nash and Sarah Ashley. Make sure you find them as well. But thank you, Michelle Aspen, for being on the What Makes You Famous podcast. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.